Every investigation begins the exact same way.
Not with an arrest, not with a suspect, but with something that simply doesn't make sense. Sometimes it's a fingerprint, sometimes it's a phone call, and sometimes it's money.
In this investigation, it was nearly 2 billion euros. That's a staggering amount of money that auditors fully expected to find. Money that proudly sat on balance sheets, impressed investors, and completely convinced regulators. Except there was one major problem. No one could actually prove it was there. At first glance, it just looked like an unfortunate accounting mistake inside one of Europe's fastest-growing technology companies.
But investigators discovered they weren't looking at bad bookkeeping. They were looking at something far more dangerous. One financial record became another. One offshore account became dozens. Wire transfers crossed borders. Corporate registrations led to shell companies. Emails connected executives, and travel records connected intelligence officers. The deeper investigators looked, the larger the network became. You see, when you follow the money, you realize this wasn't simply corporate fraud. It wasn't just missing money. It was a financial maze, carefully designed so no one could see the people controlling it. And hidden right at the center was a man who almost never appeared in public.
Picture this, July 1st, Moscow. It's a warm summer afternoon, and people are strolling through Trupnaya Square. Couples are laughing, tourists are photographing historic buildings, and a man wearing a plain white t-shirt walks calmly through the crowd. He's got sunglasses tucked into his collar, his girlfriend's hand in his. There are no bodyguards, no security detail, no expensive suit. Literally no one looks twice. To everyone around him, he is simply another visitor enjoying the afternoon. But investigators across Europe see something entirely different. They see one of the world's most wanted fugitives, a man linked to one of the largest financial scandals in European history, whom investigative reporting and prosecutors have connected to an international espionage network. For years, authorities searched for him. Interpol even issued a red notice, yet somehow he disappeared, only to reappear walking freely in the Russian capital. So, how does one of Europe's most wanted men simply vanish? And how did an investigation into missing corporate funds evolve into allegations involving espionage, intelligence services, and covert operations spanning multiple countries? The answers weren't found in Moscow. They were hidden inside financial statements, corporate filings, and encrypted communications.
To trace this back, we first need to look at Germany's fintech star and the rapid rise of Wirecard.
To truly understand those missing billions, you have to understand the company itself. Founded during the massive rise of digital commerce, Wirecard promised to completely transform electronic payments. Businesses could process credit cards, manage international transactions, and move money across borders with unprecedented speed. By 2018, it was Germany's absolute greatest corporate success story. Valued at an astonishing 24 billion euros, analysts were calling it Europe's answer to PayPal. On paper, the numbers were extraordinary. Revenue kept growing, profits appeared strong. But the evidence revealed a truth that those appearances were specifically designed to conceal.
A few journalists, independent analysts, and skeptical investors started to notice something unusual. The company's extraordinary reported success seemed increasingly difficult to verify. Key business partners were hard to identify, and financial records raised some very uncomfortable questions. Now, at first, those concerns were completely dismissed. The company defended itself aggressively, and to the outside world, Wirecard remained one of Europe's brightest corporate stars. Yet, beneath all those glowing headlines, small inconsistencies continued to accumulate. Individually, they seemed insignificant, but together, they pointed towards something much larger. Investigators didn't know it yet, but they weren't simply examining a successful technology company. They were standing at the entrance to one of the most extraordinary financial and intelligence investigations in modern European history.
This brings us to the man behind the curtain, Jan Marsalek.
If you want to know how this happened, you always have to ask, who benefits? And one name surfaced repeatedly, Jan Marsalek. He wasn't a public figure, he rarely gave interviews and operated largely out of the public eye. He had no prestigious business school background, not even a college degree. Yet at 19, he joined Wirecard and eventually became its chief operating officer. Inside Wirecard, employees started noticing unexplained patterns. Marsalek traveled constantly to the Middle East, Russia, and Asia. He spoke with chilling certainty about classified conflicts, chemical weapons, and military intelligence operations. People listened because he sounded exactly like someone who already had the inside answers. To investigators looking back years later, these weren't just unusual business trips. The missing billions were really only the beginning. Money wasn't the only thing moving through Wirecard's network. Information was moving too. Which leads us to the fraud nobody wanted to believe, culminating in the June 2020 audit.
For years, investigative journalists at the Financial Times flagged serious inconsistencies in Wirecard's overseas operations, only to be met with relentless, aggressive legal threats. But in June 2020, Ernst & Young auditors reached an undeniable conclusion. 1.9 billion euros that were supposedly held in trustee accounts simply couldn't be found. Bank confirmations couldn't be authenticated. Investigators soon learned the devastating truth. That money had never existed at all. It was a complete financial illusion that had propped up one of Europe's most valuable technology companies. Within days, Wirecard collapsed, erasing billions in market value almost overnight. Just like that, one of Germany's greatest corporate success stories became its greatest financial scandal.
But Marszalek didn't stick around for the fallout. He had a planned escape. Let's look at the fugitive's timeline.
While the company entered freefall, Marszalek definitely wasn't planning to stick around and answer questions. He was following a calculated plan to disappear. Travel records and flight manifests showed this wasn't last-minute panic. This was careful preparation. Just days after his suspension, a private aircraft smuggled him from Austria to Minsk in Belarus. Private aviation offered him speed, complete privacy, and far fewer public records. But investigators believe he didn't stop there. He continued east, right into Russia, protected by multiple identities and passports, vanishing just before the walls could close in. By the time Germany issued an arrest warrant and Interpol published a red notice, the man they were searching for was already well beyond their reach.
Now, at first, investigators believed they were just chasing a fugitive executive, but they were wrong. Intelligence agencies across Europe were already asking a very different, far more unsettling question. What if he hadn't escaped alone?
The story of the spy goes far beyond basic financial crime.
According to reporting by Der Spiegel and other investigative outlets, Marszalek's relationships with Russian intelligence actually dated all the way back to 2010. Slowly, the evidence revealed a sprawling network. Certain meetings repeatedly occurred near diplomatic facilities. Wirecard hadn't simply been a payment company, it was the absolute perfect cover. Think about it, a legitimate financial institution capable of moving vast sums of money globally, all while granting access to invaluable data. We're talking payment histories, travel bookings, commercial relationships. This is exactly the kind of infrastructure an intelligence service might find incredibly useful. To investigators, this wasn't just corporate fraud anymore. It was espionage infrastructure. The financial investigation had fully transformed into an intelligence investigation, but they still didn't know the complete extent of the operation.
That full picture of the network didn't emerge until London in 2023.
For 3 years, Marszalek's activities in Russia remained a complete mystery. Then, UK counterterrorism police dismantled what initially seemed like a fairly ordinary surveillance network. At first glance, their targets seemed totally unrelated. Bulgarian journalists, political dissidents, military installations, Bellingcat reporters. There was absolutely nothing connecting them until authorities checked the phones.
Investigators recovered over 100,000 encrypted messages, and one single name surfaced repeatedly: Jan Marszalek. Prosecutors allege, according to court records, that he wasn't just hiding in Russia, he was actively directing European intelligence operations. The messages detailed surveillance, payments, and false identities spread across multiple European countries. One message even discussed using Wirecard systems to access confidential airline booking data. The very systems designed to process everyday payments were allegedly being used to track who people met and exactly when they met them. Each investigation, which was once viewed totally separately, had suddenly become part of the exact same story. The missing billions were never the whole investigation. They were just the first clue.
And that leads us to the man who remains free, a completely unresolved mystery.
Today, Jan Marszalek remains one of Europe's most wanted fugitives, reportedly living under assumed identities in Moscow, fully protected by Russian state security structures. The consequences of Wirecard's collapse continued to be felt today, but the investigation fundamentally changed how we view global finance. It proved that corporate fraud, organized crime, and espionage are no longer separate worlds. A modern corporation can act as an active intelligence infrastructure, highly capable of moving money and collecting vital information right under the noses of regulators. Some questions have finally been answered, but so many remain unresolved.
Today's criminal enterprises heavily rely on systems, the very same digital, payment, and communication systems that you and I interact with every single day. But every one of those systems creates an echo, a footprint. Sometimes it's hidden, sometimes it's ignored, but it is never completely erased. Because while technology changes and criminal methods constantly evolve, one principle remains absolutely constant: evidence remembers. The greatest threats we face are not always the most visible ones. Sometimes they sit quietly in boardrooms instead of bunkers.
It leaves you with one chilling thought. If a simple payment processor could be weaponized into an international espionage network, what are the systems you trust your data to actually doing behind closed doors? And this explainer was brought to you by Echoes of Evidence. Remember, evidence remembers. Truth prevails.